I really wish someone was this emphatic about this aspect with me. It feels very sharp. It's a sharp contrast to the life that you knew, but this is what I'm trying to say is that the life that you had before, it's gone. It's dead. So, except you intend to continue to cling to something that's dead, you have to let go of everything that came with that life, including the support system, the support mechanisms that kept that life going. You got to let it go. Hello there and welcome back to this channel. Today I want to share this video that I think will be sort of short, but I think a lot of us as believers need this video, and I feel like this is something that I probably should have heard or maybe even paid more attention to earlier in my own walk with God, and it would have probably made my journey a little different. Okay, I want to talk about the topic of staying consistent in your walk with God, right? I'm talking about being fervent in your walk with God, how to ensure that you do not keep backsliding. Right? I think that's pretty much the way I'm going to put it, because a lot of us as believers struggle with keeping to this, would I say, new life that we've signed up for when we come out and we give our lives to Christ. Many times it's a very sincere position of the heart. The decision is sincere. It's well thought through, but there is the piece that's missing beyond just the decision in the heart, and that's what I want to talk about today. And so today we're going to be looking at what it means to actually live a holy life, right? Live a life that's not constantly going back and forth, backsliding today, coming forward to repent tomorrow. And so I want to share some practical things, right, that you can do to ensure that your decision for Christ remains solid and that it takes you through years. You know, I listen to generals in the faith and men of God, and they're talking about their walk with God, and they've been in that walk for 60 years, 70 years, and it's been strong and it's been solid. And I love reading stories like that because it lets me know that it is indeed possible to make a decision for God and keep to that decision throughout your life. So if you're interested in hearing what it takes to ensure that your walk with God is secure, is stable, is solid, right? Just make sure you keep watching, okay? So let's get into it. I think I'll be talking about 4 things specifically that you need to do when you give your life to Christ. The way that I describe this is this, and I don't want to get too deep into it because this video is supposed to be like a short video, but when I think about what it means to give your life to Christ, if you look at the scriptures that talk about, being a new creature and all things passing away and all things becoming new, the word that's used there for new is actually the word in Greek called kainos. And long story short, this is a new creature that actually never existed before. So as opposed to what we think when we go out and give our lives to Christ and think that we're renewed, right? Like it's the old version of ourselves and like this is a new version, right? Like 2.0, you're wrong. Because what happens at the point of that decision to give your life to Christ is that a new creature completely is born. This creature did not exist before. This environment, right? This world was not built for this creature. So you need to now figure out what your world needs to look like, what life needs to look like for this creature that has not been studied before, this creature that this world was not built to accommodate. And I think these few steps will help you start to journey towards a reality in this new life. So the first thing is you do need to accept the fact that that person who came out there, although you walked away, and it's still you, right? But something major shifted. On the inside, someone new was born. Not only is this a new creature, this is literally a baby. And you have to treat your life this way. So what does that mean? When you think about what it means to be a new creature, you have to consider the fact that this new creature that came out of this experience, it is very possible that this environment, this ecosystem, if you will, was not created to sustain life in this creature. So you think about what it means to previously exist as, I like to give very simple examples, exist like a fish. And now you go out, to the altar, you take the altar call, you make that prayer, the sinner's prayer, and now you walk away from there as a bird. That simply means that your previous environment can no longer accommodate you. And I'm not saying this abstractly, I mean it literally, physically. Your previous environment can no longer accommodate you. So the first thing that you want to take into account when you give your life to Christ and intend to stay on this walk for good for the rest of your life is that you need to audit your environment. Too many of us exist in an environment that was not deliberately created to sustain the life of the Spirit of God within us. The environment around us is built to sustain the flesh. There's a lot of things around us that excite the flesh, that keep it stimulated, that keep it excited. But the environment was not created to sustain the spirit. This is the physical realm, and everything here is built to keep your physical components, your physical being excited. It's, built to keep it alive. It's built to keep it, strong and vibrant, thinking about the food, thinking about water, thinking about even the kind of entertainment that you have around you. So if you have any plans to really survive this walk with God, the first thing you want to audit is your physical environment. You want to take a look at the things around your physical environment that do not promote the life of the Spirit. Okay? The Bible makes it very clear that you're either living according to the flesh or you're living according to the Spirit. There's no room for a middle ground. There's no room to be on the fence. There's no room for neutrality. And I think that's something that many of us missed when we gave our life to Christ, is that we thought that we had a choice. We had the choice to sort of be neutral. Right? Like, I'm a Christian, but I'm not going all the way. I'm a Christian, but I still enjoy this and I still do that. But the reality is that that's not how it works. The Bible makes it clear. You're either being led by the Spirit of God or you're being led by your flesh, and there's no middle ground. There's no third party, right? These are the two components. These are the two things. So what does that mean? It means that you need to begin to alter your environment to sustain the life of the Spirit within you. So you need to take a look at literally the kinds of things that surround you, the music that surrounds you, the movies that surround you, the kind of places you go to. You want to take note of these things so that you can begin to make those changes. It seems very mechanical, but I tell you that until you implement these mechanical aspects that many of us try to avoid, you cannot successfully sustain the life of the Spirit. So one major lie that we keep telling ourselves, or that we've heard or told ourselves in the Christian faith, is that, it just everything is by the Spirit and all of that, in that you do nothing, right? This life just sustains itself. But you have to see that that is actually backward, because even in physical reality, a baby does not sustain itself. So you don't get a baby born into this world and be like, you don't have to do anything. It's just going to go by the Spirit. And the baby is just going to survive and grow, and you don't have to do anything. That's not the truth. You have a responsibility to feed this baby, to care for this baby, to take this baby, for checkups and things like that. This is what it means to live the life in the Spirit, is that you do not get to neglect your spirit. Right? And so you have to audit your environment to ensure that it can sustain the life of the Spirit. Many of us have made a decision to follow Christ, but we live in an environment that's literally built to choke out the life of God within us. And I will be very exact, right? So some of us have given our lives to Christ. We want to live by the Spirit, but we're still constantly surrounded by a lot of junk music. We're still constantly surrounded by a lot of junk movies that portray, things that are not in line with the Spirit of God. So you cannot be confused as to why your life keeps going back and forth. It's because it's garbage in, garbage out, right? So you stay in an environment that promotes these things. And I don't even want to get into the spiritual aspect of the music, the movies and things like that. But this is the reality. There is absolutely no way that you can sustain the life of God within you if the environment around you is built to literally choke that life out. So audit your environment. This is the first thing that you must do. Take a look at what your space looks like. One thing that I realized a while ago is that when it comes to businesses are very intentional about creating an environment that supports and promotes their end goal. So the end goal of a business is to make profit, is to sell. And I always like to give an example of a store like Sephora, because I do love Sephora, right? But the thing is, when you walk into Sephora, the environment in Sephora is created, every little bit of it, from the lighting to the colors, to the shelf placements, to the product choices, all of those things, the music, the smell, everything in that environment called Sephora is put together intentionally to keep you in there, not just there looking around, but to spend money. It's not a coincidence that you walk in there thinking you need one foundation and you walk out of there with 4 items that you did not bargain for. It's not an accident. It's on purpose. Why? Because the environment is created in that way to support that end goal. So people pay consultants a lot of money to create that space so that it keeps you there. I remember going to a restaurant one time, and my husband and I went there because we wanted to chat, we wanted to talk. And so we asked the person who was in charge if they could reduce the music where we were, because it was this loud, secular music, and it was just kind of bothersome. And the lady went on and reduced it, and it was great. I think maybe some minutes later, the music went back up. It was super loud. And so we reached out to her again and said, hey, I think someone, forgot what we asked, and they increased the volume of the music. And the lady came back and said, oh, I'm sorry. This came from the headquarters because they noticed that the music in this area was low and asked me to put it on because it needs to be at a certain volume level. It cannot drop below that level. Do you understand why that is? It's because they need you to be in there excited, feeling happy, feeling light, feeling, just great, so that you keep spending money. So you go in there, you think you're going to get just an entree, and the next thing you're like, you know what, that starter looks good. I think I'll just have this, second appetizer, and maybe we'll just have dessert. What I'm saying here is that people in the world are intentional about curating an environment that supports the goal that they're building or the goal that they're looking to achieve. But one thing we do not do as believers, as Christians, is to do the same thing. We do not create an environment that supports our end goal, which is to stay consistent in our walk with God and live a holy life like we've been called to. So you need to take responsibility for this because no one is going to do it for you. And if you have not noticed, the world is built to literally run opposite of this life that's now in you. So you have to begin to create that environment. It begins with your music. It begins with your choice of movies, right? So I'm not saying you can never watch movies or whatever, but I'm saying begin to audit them. A lot of the movies that we watch today, they're not just crafted from the imagination of someone. They're not just put together because someone is creative. They're put together because people are influenced. They have spiritual influences that drive these movies, from the script to the choice of the characters and all of those things. These are carefully built to create an environment that promotes the activity of certain spirits. So you watch certain movies and you wonder why you begin to struggle with lust. You watch certain movies and you wonder why you're depressed, why you're anxious, right? These things are not a coincidence. I promise you this, that Christians are probably the only ones who do not understand the law of creating that environment. People understand it in the secular world. Demonic spirits understand it, but for some reason, Christians do not understand it. So you need to throw that junk out of your home. If there are materials in your home, books, movies, throw them out. Your music playlist, you need to switch them out. It is a hard reset, but I'm telling you that you're not going to survive this walk without constantly going back and forth in this backsliding motion if you do not do this. Again, I said this in the beginning of the video, but I really wish someone was this emphatic about this aspect with me. It feels very sharp. It feels very, I don't know. It's a sharp contrast to the life that you knew. But this is what I'm trying to say is that the life that you had before, it's gone. It's dead. So except you intend to continue to cling to something that's dead, you have to let go of everything that came with that life, including the support system, the support mechanisms that kept that life going. You got to let it go. So this new life that's in you, the life of God, the life of the Spirit that's within you, you need to create an environment for it. So build your environment out. If I come into your space, if I come into your home, if I come into your car, what's playing? Some of us still have a favorite radio station playing in the car with all the rap or hip hop or whatever, or even the R&B. All of those things. Listen, I know it seems very extreme, but feel free to ignore this advice and then come back to this video in like a couple of years or so and see what that looks like. I'm telling you because I walked this path. Oh, I love Jesus, but I also love me some, trap music. A lie of the devil. The two are opposite of each other. They fight one another. The Bible says it. The spirit lusts after the flesh lusts after the spirit. It is the way that it works. I'm telling you this right now because it is the truth. And I wish people would say it more. So you see, many of our churches, many of our spiritual environments do not necessarily say these things because, you want to make sure that the young Christians, the new Christians, don't get scared out of their decision or don't leave the church. It's literally not so much about being scared out of the decision to follow God, but it's more so that they don't leave the church, right? Like, we need the numbers. We need to keep them happy. We need to, cuddle their flesh. The reality is that the more you cuddle your flesh, the more life it's going to have. And the more life your flesh has, the more your spirit dies. So let this be point number one, is begin to audit your environment. Anything that does not support the life of God within you, kick it out. The good thing about this is it's not even rocket science. It's not rocket science. So if I'm saying, I'm a child of God, I believe in God, God is holy, within him there's no lie and all of that, and I'm listening to music that's basically cussing, that's basically glorifying, not even glorifying, that's just kind of peddling the, woman's body, or encouraging the drug, culture, or, all kinds of things. It's not rocket science. You already know. I think the thing is, many of us know these things, but we have been built to make allowance for our flesh so much that we're not willing to actually be honest with ourselves. So the kind of environments that we exist in allow us to continue down this path of deception. It leads nowhere. I'm telling you, you will continue to go back and forth in your walk with God. And now, I do not care if your favorite pastor or your favorite preacher, tells you that there's nothing wrong with enjoying, your secular music. I do not care. And if I'm trying to be very nice about this, because I need you to receive this truth. Because I've seen situations where spiritual leaders, people who have the responsibility from God to shepherd and steward the souls of people into the kingdom, are the ones promoting, concerts and celebrities and people who have a clear agenda to drive people towards Satan. I've seen it. You know it. You know what I'm talking about. It's online. So I don't care if the person you listen to or the spiritual influence over you tells you that there's nothing wrong with enjoying a little bit of that music or going to that concert or whatever. I'm telling you right now that is a lie. That is a lie. We can tell ourselves the truth because we're Christians and we want the best for each other. It is a lie. Because there's absolutely no way that you're looking to be delivered from the spirit of lust, from the spirit of, promiscuity or pornography, but you're constantly consuming content that promotes it. You are consuming the very spirit you're trying to cast out. You want to drive out the spirit of lust. You want to drive out the spirit of pornography. You want to drive out all the spirits, but you continually consume content that's created to worship these spirits. You have your environment literally receiving all of that, spiritual presence, spiritual influence of these spirits, from the music to the movies to the books and things like that. And you wonder why you constantly struggle with that sin. It is not rocket science. God is powerful enough to deliver you from any sin that keeps you going back and forth. The question is, are you creating an environment that keeps that thing alive within you? This is the question. Are you creating an environment that keeps the very thing that God is trying to kill alive within you? Because if that's the case, then do not be surprised if that thing doesn't go away. So even things like lying, just think about those things. There is an exact ecosystem. There is an exact environment that can exist around you that creates the life of God, that promotes the life of God rather, and keeps these things at bay. There is an exact environment. And until you learn to build that environment around yourself, you'll continue to go back and forth. So I hope this has blessed you. I think it was important for me to spend this much time on this one point. And I will create, this will be, I think, in part 1, part 2, and part 3. But we need to hear this in the body of Christ. No one is really telling us. People are creating an environment that supports babies, right? Like, oh, it's okay, love God, but you feel free to keep, spending each weekend in the club. A lie of the devil. Those very demons you're praying against, they will be right back in your life the second you step out of that club, right? So again, I hope this has blessed you. And if it has, feel free to leave a comment in this comment section below. Let me know what your experience is like. Are you someone who's struggled with this backsliding motion in your walk with God? What did it take for you to be fervent, right? What did you have to kick out of your life? Okay. If this has blessed you, once again, share this with someone, put it on your social platforms, and I hope to see you on the next video. God bless you. Bye.